Hello, everyone. I am Pisces, your neighborhood stripper, and I'm here with the only consultant and Kinky CPA. You can see his background. And we're here to talk about tax advice and taxes, period, for sex workers. I had this conversation with my friend the other day, and I was telling her how I did my taxes or whatever, and how everyone what is it, January 26th or something is when it started, where you could start filing. And I was telling her how in 15 days we should start seeing more people come in and the more the money rolling in at the strip club. And she was like, oh, but it's 21 days now. And I'm like, what? Can y'all tell me about that? Because I feel out of the loop. Like, I'm usually on it, but I haven't heard that it's 21 days now. And why did they change it?
You want to go first?
Yeah. I mean, we can just kind of go back and forth here. I mean, the IRS is very backed up with everything that's been going on the past couple of years with the pandemic and the additional stimulus payments. So they're very backed up. So 21 days is conservative. It could be much longer, especially if you paper file. Yeah.
Has it gone longer for the paper filing?
It's gone longer for everything. Like there's not enough people to answer the phone. There's not enough people to do the work. They're sending last week they were sending out like a record number of notices and basically attack letters to people, and they would send the same letter 2 or 3 times. And so they finally last week realized that if we don't stop this, nobody's going to be able to get their stuff done. So they basically put a ban on that. And then they did the whole crazy thing with the facial recognition software they wanted to roll out. That freaked everybody out. So it is, and they're not hiring more people. Like people are quitting IRS and nobody's replacing them.
Yeah, I hate having to, like, I still haven't received my tax refund for 2019, and I've been calling and hitting them up, and it's been forever. It's been a whole year since I've, at the end of last year, I finally got a hold of somebody after calling for a whole year, because beforehand I got there, we were back and forth, but it was more mail than anything. And I finally had to call them and see, hey, what's up? What happened? Where's my refund? And yeah, they need more people because they keep requiring me to send them something fax them something of my address so that they can have a change of address and send me my, the package for identity theft?
Yeah, the identity verification, because there was a record number of, so everybody's at home. Since there was a record number of identity theft and identity fraud, especially through the IRS, they had to put all these different layers, and everybody started falling into the buckets of ID verification.
Yeah. And the lady that I talked to, she's like, I sent it twice and she hasn't did what she was supposed to do and send it off to the right people. And so I'm hesitating to do it again because it's can I talk to somebody else? But now I can't talk to anybody else because there's barely anyone to talk to.
Yeah, you can't get through. You got to call first thing in the morning and pray that you're one of the first.
Yeah, my partner, she basically, about half of her side of the business is tax controversy and fighting IRS penalties and fines. And she basically bought another cell phone so she can be on hold on 3 or 4 phones at once, waiting for the and she's like, it's like a lottery. I'll just wait 2 or 3 hours, and then they'll just drop the call. And it's I don't have that kind of patience. But literally, she has cell phones, and then she'll just you'll hear the background. She's on hold somewhere else. So it's nutty. They expect us to guess at what our taxes are going to end up being, pay the right amounts in before we even know what they're going to end up being, and then penalize us and put us in jail if we don't do it.
Yeah, and the rules are constantly changing.
Yeah.
It's not simple. Even the IRS website is not always up to date, though. You'll find something on there like, this is old. This isn't even current.
Yeah.
Well, and then they have no like thought of what they put on their website. Like they put on a bunch of stuff about criminal activity. How it's like, we don't care if you're doing criminal activity, but you better pay your taxes on the criminal activity, on the value of the stuff you sold, as long as it didn't get confiscated in an arrest before you end of year.
Oh, that's crazy.
You are crazy.
It's bold.
And, with my clients, they are just completely freaked out. They see all the stimulus going out. They know the IRS is going to come after the money eventually. And like, I've got people that haven't filed in 10 years. Like, I need to get current. Brian. We got to go do this. And I'm like, okay, well, you're going to be paying taxes. And they go, I don't care. I'm sick of living under the rock.
Yep. I've seen that too.
And speaking of, I do have a question about that because it came from a friend of mine. She asked, can I do my taxes this year to help with proving income for child support purposes if she's never done it ever?
Oh yeah, 100%. You should always file unless it's a zero return and the IRS doesn't want it because it just wastes their time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your opinion on that is.
Yeah, I would say same. I would say file. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I don't care if you don't file. The IRS should always have your most current address. Oh my gosh. Like send in that 2848 of the change of address form every year if you have to, because when the IRS can't get a hold of you, they start filing substitute returns. They're called 1040As. I call them 1040As for 1040 asshole, because they basically take your 1099 and say that's your income and you owe taxes on it, and the penalties start running right there.
Ooh.
Or,
Jeez Louise.
Yeah,
okay, another question. If I was filing single, but I'm now legally divorced, do I file as single or divorced? Does it matter?
You file as whatever your status is at the end of the year. 12.
there's no divorce status. There's only married filing jointly and married filing separately, and then single and head of household. So there's only 4 options.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so single or head of household, depending on who's in the house.
So it doesn't matter.
It's
no, I think I don't know. They said that they've seen the option to choose single or divorced or legally separated.
Married filing
through
separate.
TurboTax. TurboTax has, they have to use their algorithm to figure out what they're going to put you in. So they ask you these leading questions. Are you married at the end of the year? Did your spouse live with you? Did somebody else? But if you're, the way I do it, I just talk to them and find out what their situation is and I pick it for them.
Got you. As a sex worker, stripper, cam girl, whatever, what are considered assets? Like the things that are 200 and more. And can we go into detail with that? Because I'm not quite sure.
What is an asset in general?
No, I know what an asset, but what's an asset to a sex worker?
So I think you're talking about capitalized assets where you buy something, you expense it over time. Generally, if you have a positive net income from your business, you can do what's called Section 179 and write anything. Like if you bought a piece of equipment, a camera, build out on your thing, you can write off as much as your income was. You can write off that equipment. If it's a vehicle, it has to be over 6,000 pounds, but everything else like computers and stuff like that, you don't have to capitalize them. But if your CPA or whoever's doing your taxes is knowledgeable, it might be better to take that expense over time if you're in the lower tax brackets, the early years of the thing. So yeah.
Hold on. Okay, what if you change your business to LLCS or LLC? How do you, because it's self-employed, but do you file that under also your, what is it I'm thinking of?
Schedule C.
1040.
Yeah, your Schedule C. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So right now, before you have, so as an independent contractor, you can file as a sole proprietor. And then if you do decide to organize a business, you can organize, I would do an LLC or an S Corp, depending on what you got going on. And then that would go on your Schedule C still. So it still goes on your personal return.
Yes. So if you have an LLC, you basically have the three options. Like you have the disregarded entity, where it's basically just a 1099 on your regular 1040 return called a Schedule C. That attracts self-employment tax, which is like 15.3% on the whole amount. The other option you can do is what's called elect the LLC to be treated as an S corporation. The S corporation files a tax return, but it's just an informational tax return. What that does is that flows through to all the owners of the S corp. They get what's called a K1, and that K1 is like a 1099, but it generally doesn't attack payroll taxes, because when you're an S corp, you also have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. So you have the S corp's kind of complicated, but it is some good tax savings, because you get the money coming in from the payroll. Then you get a pay stub, which is really good if you're buying real estates or want to get an apartment without having to pay 6 months in advance. And then you can save like 7.65%. The third option, which is kind of rare, is the corporation, where the corporation actually files a tax return and pays taxes on its own. But if you want to take money from that corporation, it either has to be a salary on a W-2 or it has to be as dividends.
Got it.
So I have that conversation 5 times a day. So.
And seeing as that I cater to sex worker-owned businesses, I feel like that was an important question to ask.
The other one is the anonymity. Having the LLC can detach your name from the company. And I see people start LLCs in their own names. I'm like, what are you doing? It should be like Gravitas Flying Ventures or something. Like, I get creative on this stuff, like, because you can always do a DBA if you need a DBA, which is a doing business as. So, you know, whatever holding company can do business as whatever you want. But man, no, I don't tip my cards to anybody.
Got you.
That's an interesting point.
How much do y'all charge for your consultants or for your services?
So for tax preparation, depending on for W-2s returns, I start at $250. And then for Schedule C independent contractor, it starts at $450 and up, depending on the complexity of the return. And then if you had just a one-time inquiry, $25, and then $100 for tax planning.
I'm pretty similar to that. Most of my clients that make over 60,000 net, I strongly advise them to go into S corp, and those, that's just a $300 return just for that part of it. But yeah, similar prices to what Catherine said. My big thing is that I'm trying to build my community, and I love my job. Like it's so, I've been a CPA since 2001, and I used to do engineering companies almost exclusively, and I hated my life. Now that I've got phone sex workers, cam girls, and everything else, they're so grateful that someone's not treating them like a pariah, that they're just like, I have to turn down Cash App tips, because that's not the way I work. I charge you for a tax return, and you're my client, and I'll talk to you back and forth, but stop trying to give me money.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I love that. But I agree. I have like the best clientele. Like I enjoy every single client way more than any other field I've worked in. Like when I worked in tax at a CPA firm, forget it. like
literally, like you could go on so I do half an hour consults where I basically go through the whole spiel of probably what we're talking about here. And I've got it down to a science. Like I'm really good. Like I know what questions you're going to ask before you ask him. And I could be dead tired and worked a 20-hour day, and I start getting those calls at 8 a.m. and I am like pumped up like on crack cocaine afterwards, because like it feels so good, because they're so thankful. They're so thankful. They're like, I go to the H&R Block lady, and she goes, I can't deduct toys. I'm like, you're a phone sex worker. Of course you can deduct toys. Yeah. Or you're a professional dominatrix in Denver. You could deduct the 5-gallon things of lube. It's a necessary and ordinary business expense. Yep. I love my life. Like you can just see, it's so good.
And it sounds like those kind of, the closed-minded people, they're not actually helping with the taxes because they're not
No, they
giving
want to punish
that
you for
information.
being not a good person.
What
They
they
want,
think
they
is not
want, they
perfect.
almost like act like they're working for the IRS. It's kind of a risk for us as tax preparers to be aggressive on the client's behalf. And my favorite hashtag is hashtag taxation is theft. And I truly believe that. But I also think the IRS has guns and I don't want to go to jail with you. So I will never put on a tax return anything that I don't think 51% of the auditors would agree with. But we are going to go up to that line and we might have to have some conversations.
Right. And it takes an understanding of the industry too, and creating an open atmosphere for people to talk openly about whatever you have going on.
Exactly. You don't want to talk about tip out, or you don't want to talk about sugar daddy money. That's like, oh my God, you're never going to tell that to your tax preparer. And I've got sugar babies that are actually on 1099s from their sugar daddies as marketing consultants because the sugar daddy wanted to deduct the $50,000 a year. And the sugar baby's like, it cost me like $5,000 of taxes. That's fine. It's going to save him $20,000. So yeah.
Yep.
And just knowing about house fees and tip out, like I do probably once a week an amended return from a prior year because they didn't deduct tip out or house fees. And these in Florida they can be $150 a night. And like,
that adds
you
up.
left all this money on the table. Well, I didn't know. And I'm like, I know because nobody's going to tell you because they hate you because you're making an industry they don't agree with.
Yep.
I want to tell you my horror tax story about a company that I didn't want to do my taxes. So I decided to go with this company that my friend knew and kind of worked for at the same time. She's also a stripper, but so I felt, okay, yeah, let's do that. They didn't really tell me anything about, what y'all are saying and what to itemize and deduct and expenses and what I can put on there and whatnot. And I had to pay them $500. And to me, I was like, holy shit. That was like, it wasn't half, but it was a big chunk of my refund. And I was just like, holy shit, y'all barely even got me. I can get myself more money. I should have just did my own fucking taxes. That's how I felt. But it was like, and on top of that, it was paper. And so trying to I don't know what it was, but trying to do everything else later with taxes, it was just way complicated. And so I kind of had to start all over again the next year in doing my taxes. And it kind of messed up. I had to tell them my new address and things like that. And it didn't work out good for me. Like the stimulus, right? I didn't get my stimulus checks or whatever because of the filing that they did. And so I had to wait until till I had to file my taxes to actually get those stimulus checks or whatever to me.
So I don't know about Catherine, probably 85% of my clients owe taxes just because of the way they're self-employed. Mm-hmm. And H&R Block is in the business of trying to get you earned income credit and all these other, these other welfare things. But if you're out there making 50, 60, 70K as a self-employed person, you're going to pay taxes. There's no way around it. Mm-hmm. So I hate H&R Block. I call them the blockheads. I want to pick it outside their door and say, don't go there.
Well, they're not very helpful either. And I think the way they charge is kind of funky. They charge by form. I don't know.
Crazy. And then that incentivizes them to do forms they don't need to do.
Yeah. Like it's not ethical. They're charged how they charge.
Yeah, I never liked HR and Block. I tried to do that and I was just like, no, this is a headache. I have to go back to TurboTax.
Yeah. I mean, TurboTax has good support. So
yeah, it does.
better than H&R Block.
Will help me understand way better than all the other ones that I tried.
Well, if I have a client that can't afford tax prep, and you know, I tell them TurboTax is not bad. If it's just a W-2, don't waste your money on me, because I'm you know, I'm going to type in the same stuff you're going to type in. But if you have planning and stuff and figuring out things, I've saved people tons of money compared to what I charge, like 10x what I've charged.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Catherine's the same.
Yeah. Yep. Same. I do the same thing. I'm like, yo, you got 2 W-2s. Like, you can handle this. Like,
don't waste my time. Yeah. I've got to go through a bunch of Schedule C's. And the other thing is like, especially like if you want to buy real estate or whatever else, it takes 2 years to get prepared to buy real estate. You got to have, 2 years prior, you've got to have W-2s and 1099s and all that. Then in the current year, we try to put you in the S Corp, so you're in a good position and you're operating in a business-like manner. And still, the mortgage companies they just hate us.
Yeah. What is considered as a write-off? This is asked by a friend.
So a write-off is like a business expense. So it's any expense that goes into earning your self-employment income. So it's different depending on what your home business is, how you're self-employed. So for OnlyFans models, who I mostly work with, it's anything that's involved in their production, advertising, costumes, makeup, lingerie, dry cleaning, photo shoots, toys, travel, professional fees. So legal fees, accounting fees, tax preparations, deductible, stuff like that.
Yeah, I like to tell people the words are necessary and ordinary for your business. And like phone sex is different than camming, than sex work, than all these different things. Like one thing could be deductible for you and not to another. And that's why it's good to have someone like, myself and Catherine, who know, like we dealt with hundreds of these returns. We know what's going to go with one and what's going to not go with another one. But like I said, the other thing is operating in what's called a business-like manner is so important, because if you have your personal expenses and your business expenses all in the same account, the IRS auditor is just going to disallow everything, and we're going to have to like search for receipts and fight everything else. If you hand an auditor and your accountant 12 months of bank statements and say everything on there is business. I have a business debit card. I have a personal debit card. When I go to do anything, I decide, is this business expense? Can I claim this, or is this a personal expense? I've seen so many, $50 million companies get expenses disallowed because they put their vet bills on it. I'm like, what are you doing paying your vet bills out of your business account? And vice versa. They pay their business bills out of their personal account, and then they try to claim it, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, mixing money is bad. That's like the first thing I tell anyone. Like, if you are starting to earn money as an independent contractor, 1099, start a separate bank account. Even if it's another personal bank account to start, just to separate that money from the
business,
top.
but personal works as well.
Yeah,
and a savings account as well, because you need to put that cash somewhere and not under your bed.
Yes, and then save 30% of all of your cash outs that you're putting into your business account. Save 25-30% for taxes too.
What banks do you like to work with?
I try not to work with banks that had anything to do with slavery back in the day. Mm-hmm. I try to stay away from those. So it's really hard to find an actual bank that I can just truly be morally and okay with or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have a thing for that.
Well, I mean, the big banks can be okay. But I've seen banks take $7,000 from a person's only account, close the account, and mail a check without telling them. It goes to an address that they don't even have access to anymore, and that was their only bank account. That's
under what circumstances?
The two accounts as well.
Oh my God! Why? Why would they do that? Under what?
Because of cash. So the banks have that know your client. I don't know, in Texas, at least, they've got the know your client rules where they have to know what kind of business you're in and ask all these questions. Some banks just cut you off right when you say, I do this. I mean, most of my people are considered under the IRS independent artists, 711510 or whatever. But I that's why you never put all your money in one bank, because if something like that happens, you're going to get your money back, but it's going to take you 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow. Never heard of that.
Oh, really? Oh,
No.
wow. And that's the whole that's when people start putting money in their shoe boxes. And
Yeah.
I like to use Stash. I try to tell all my stripper friends and everyone, use Stash. Like, that is legit. Like, you can put you don't even have to have a multiple bank, because they have like this area where it's like a goal area.
Mhm.
And then you put down what you want to save or whatever, and you just put money in it, and it doesn't take anything out of it. So I tell people to do that all the time, because I just feel like that's a smart way to have a savings account. But without you
How do you
losing
guys feel
the money
about
or being
Zelle?
afraid where's it going.
How do you guys feel about Zelle and Cash App and all that stuff?
I'm not a big fan of Zelle. Zelle is very confusing. I mean, it's not confusing, but I don't know. Something's off with Zelle for me. I don't I don't like Zelle. But what was the other one that you had said?
There's Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle are the three that I encounter a lot.
PayPal too, I see.
Oh, I do not.
I try to avoid PayPal.
Yeah.
They have had my money on hold before, and I was like,
Yeah.
what in the entire fuck is this?
It's not a bank. It's a service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was crazy because I was with a friend, and it made me look all broke and shit. And I'm like, but she's like, I'll give you some money then. I was like, don't worry, baby, I'll pay you back. I pay you back.
The crazy thing on the dance scene is like the strip clubs, even in the same city, you have 3 different strip clubs, and they're doing their payments 3 different ways. Like, one will be a W-2, another one will be a 1099, another is just like, you're cash. We don't care. We don't give a damn about you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so confusing to people. I ask them, are you guys on cash? You guys on 1099? And they always think they're on 1099, and then they talk to somebody else at the club and no, they don't give us anything. They don't report anything.
I've seen that a lot too. I've never seen a W-2 though from a club.
In Boston, you have to be on W-2 if you're from a club. And it's so sketchy. It's so sketchy too, because like, I'm like, what's that? What? You tell me most of your money comes in cash. What's on that W-2? Well, like champagne rooms and stuff. I'm like, no, it's not. What are they doing? It's just a way they're trying to trick the system.
Yeah, I think they do that in Texas too, because most girls do not really have the option of being an employee or independent contractor. Most girls do independent contracting, but you might find the one girl who decided to become an employee instead. And I feel like they do that to, I guess, to get apartments or cars or something like that. But I tell them you can do that without the W-2. And I just think it's a bad idea altogether. But have you ever gotten any W-2s from Texas, like from the strip clubs?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And also, if you're a server or whatever else, you could actually work at the club, because like, since most of my business is referrals, like the DJ comes and then this guy comes and this guy, it's becomes a whole thing.
That's awesome. You got the whole club. You're doing everyone's taxes.
Oh, exactly. Like, no, there's a club. There's actually a club in California that literally I have everybody. Like, that's just awesome. Like, I kind of wish I should just go out there one night and just do all their taxes in one day and get it over with.
I mean, that would be awesome, though. You should totally like hook up with one of the organizations and just like have a whole day where everyone comes through.
But I do have an intense hate of strip club owners. Like, I can't work with them. Because like Rick's Cabaret, like they own a lot of clubs. When they take over a club, they basically just take over the club to take money from the girls. Like, I had one person that overheard the manager saying the girls in this club are making too much money. I'm like, they're your only product.
Yikes.
You're not even paying them. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, we
wild.
definitely
That's
try to
wild.
get in between it, the money making and whatnot.
Yeah.
One of my new favorite hacks for OnlyFans, especially if somebody's not real disciplined with their money, OnlyFans will deduct the taxes before they pay you. You could actually do the withholding through the Phoenix Internet. You know, on the website, you just say I want to withhold 10%, and they'll just withhold that money before you even see it. And that saved people, like, they didn't even miss the money, and then they had like a couple grand in there for taxes.
Oh, that's really
I
smart.
love that hack.
That's a great option.
I was shocked the first time I saw it. I said,
I
"Did you
never
know
heard
they
of
took
that.
money out of your account?" And she goes, "No, they didn't." I'm like, here's your 1099, and here's the federal withholding.
I have never seen that. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah, I
look
need
into
to take
that.
a picture and post it on Instagram of like, this is what you should do if you're not good at saving money.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
No, it
That's
really
super
is.
helpful. Wow. I'm gonna write that down.
So I have a question. Are y'all certified CPAs or tax advisors?
I'm a tax accountant. So I have a bachelor's degree in accounting and I have the extra year of school to get my CPA, but I have not passed the test.
Oh no.
Oh, I don't want to get into it. It's very sensitive.
No, it took me 3 times to pass the test. I passed it in 2001 because I'm really old. I'm 48 years old now.
That's not old.
What's that?
That's not that bad.
Old.
But like I said, I worked most of my life in industry. You know, I didn't even have my first CPA firm until 2008. And I didn't even know what Kinky was until 2017, because, you know, I was in a marriage for 25 years, got married in college. And then when I got divorced, I fell into the Kinky world. And then that's when I found out that everybody in the Kinky world, no matter what type of business you are, is getting discriminated against. And so I just used to do taxes for free at parties and stuff like that. I'm like, Brian, you can't keep giving it away for free. So then I went on FetLife actually and like started advertising on there, wasted a lot of money, and then had a couple of Instagram accounts that would keep getting banned because I post too much dirty stuff. And so finally I had to go a little bit more vanilla on my account, and it did pretty well.
Awesome. And then all of your clients are just from referrals now.
Yep.
Right, from just being in the industry. Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I started my company last year. So last year was my first tax season. I worked in firms previously, and then I quit, and I was like, I'm never doing tax again. I'm going to do something else. And I started working for the government. I was doing like business operations for a government contractor. And then I started my social media marketing on the side when the pandemic hit. And then I was like, wait, what is OnlyFans? Hang on. So I texted
100%.
my friend. I was like, do you know that everything you do is deductible, right? Like you can write everything off. She goes, no, I have no idea. And my friends don't know either. I'm like, shut the fuck up. So I quit my job. Like, that's it. I'm doing taxes for OnlyFans. I'm going back in the game.
And literally, like, the work is so nice. Like, the work is great. Like, they're nice people. They're accommodating people.
It's the best. I have nothing bad to say at all. Every call I have is so pleasant compared to other industry. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah.
And it's funny. I'm in Houston, Texas. I have more clients in Portland and Chattanooga, Oregon, and Chattanooga, Tennessee than I'll ever have in Houston, Texas. Like, literally, like I'm known in Portland. I can't wait to go there. It's going to be the hell of a party because like I've got tattoo artists and chefs and vegan chefs and wedding photographers all off of referrals.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, but their food is good.
That's great. Yeah. It is like a chain reaction though. Once someone's like, oh, you got a good accountant. Okay. Next thing you know.
Especially someone they can trust, because the people in our industry are just like completely taken advantage of at every turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
It's very frustrating. Like once I started, I really had knew nothing about the industry or the lifestyle. And the more I'm doing research and reading about it, I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm like, this is all bullshit. Like, what do you mean? A 1099 is the same document a real estate agent gets, an insurance broker gets, any other.
You owe the same taxes.
And you like, I was like, I don't know, MasterCard issues, OnlyFans payment processing issues. I'm like, this is crazy.
So how do I get the most out of my taxes? What are some tips and tricks that you could possibly tell? And I know that every sex work industry isn't the same, but do you have any tips or advice on how to get the most out of their taxes?
First, I would say staying organized. Separating your income and your expenses just to start, just for something basic, so you even have an idea of what your business even looks like. Next, I would say educate yourself, because there's a lot of free information on the IRS website and around, and seeking a tax professional to make sure that you don't miss out on credits or deductions or expenses or anything like that. Brian, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, my thing is that you've just got to have the mindset that you're the same as Google or anybody else. You're running a business. I don't care if it may be clothing optional or you may spank people. I don't care. It's a business, and you just have to have that mindset that you're in business. You're going to operate it like it's a business. I tell people to act like you work for somebody else, even though you're working for yourself. Like, if your boss would let you write that off, then you write it off. If you work for a company or whatever, and like I said, just don't ever be ashamed. Don't let just don't. I mean, you're under so much stress because your daily life is just stressful because you're putting your life out there all the time. There's no reason to be afraid of the tax man on top of that.
I tried using QuickBooks. QuickBooks is very confusing to me. So I decided I started using Keeper Tax.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all have heard of it, but it really helped me with my expenses, getting my expenses organized and what I'm actually spending my money on and how much money I'm spending on with the business. It connects to literally all my banks. So even if I bought something personally and in my personal bank rather than my business bank, I still but that's for the other part of that's not part of the business part. I think that's I have 2 Schedule C's or something like that. So they're different categories.
Also, I tell everybody, have multiple sources of income. If you dance, try OnlyFans. If you try OnlyFans, do Twitch. If you work at the Chicken Ranch in Nevada, try that. Whatever you could do. If you want to be a dominatrix, go with God. Do whatever you could do, because like I said, that when the OnlyFans scare came out, that could have really screwed millions of people out of billions of dollars because of credit card processing problems. I had a lot of clients screw this. I'm building my own website. I'm never going to be, I don't get the reach. Oh, you doing that? Oh, you do it. Yeah.
It's so smart though.
Production.
Yeah. You're in charge of your own client list, and you can retain that and do whatever you want to with it after. And there's no platform that can be in control of your business.
Yeah, I tell you,
definitely woke a lot of people up. That was crazy.
Yeah. What changes can I make now for next year to reduce what I owe?
You can adjust your withholding, like we were talking about before, with the tiny nine, the option on OnlyFans. So if you wanted to withhold, 10 or 20% in your tax documents, you could do that. You could pay estimated tax payments. Won't really reduce what you owe necessarily, but you'll at least be caught up on it. You can prepay on it. Brian?
I like the term SEPIRA. So like I said, if you're making good money and this is a living for you, you should have the LLC. It costs $200-300 to get an LLC. If you do it yourself, you can get a lawyer to do it for, LegalZoom or whatever.
I went on InkFile.
There you go. And then you can go to Gusto or QuickBooks Online Payroll or whatever else to do because you're going to do your same payroll, the same amount all year. When you do that, you can start what's called SEPIRA, and it's a simplified employee pension. And it's a plan where the LLC pays not you, it pays to your retirement account. And then the company's not liable for whatever happens after that. It's totally up to Fidelity or E-Trade or whoever you used at that retirement account. And you can put up to 25% of your W-2 income into this SEP IRA. And nobody pays tax on it until you pull it out 20 years from now. So the company doesn't pay taxes. You don't pay self-employment taxes. Like I have like the people who are making good money, because the maximum is up to 250,000, and you can take 25% of that. So that's like $57,000 if you can spare the money. And instead of it being in cash or you blowing it on stuff, you can put that into Apple stock if you want, or Uber, whoever you want to do. Get as much money, like I call it pre-tax money. Get as much money out of your hands before you see it, either through tax withholdings or through putting in retirement accounts, or even like doing it where it's like automatically drafted into a savings account, because you're of the mindset of you're going to live on whatever you get. And the more you can like reduce that amount, you're not even going to what, if you work a W-2 job, you get withheld on, you don't even notice.
Yep.
So
what is considered a gift tax?
okay, you want to do that one? All right. So gifts are not actually taxable. If it's a gift and there's nothing in return or whatever like that, that's not taxable for the person receiving the gift. Now, there may be a tax on the person giving the gift, depending on the size and the amount, but usually that's not going to come up in normal course of business. So if somebody gives you gifts and it's not part of a business relationship, that is not self-employment tax. You don't have to report it at all. They might have a requirement depending on how big the gift is.
So if you're like a sugar baby and your sugar daddy gifted you something, you don't have to, but they might have to. I mean, if it's like a large scale.
Well, I mean, that gets all into cash income. Is that actually work? Is that actually not? Mm-hmm. And we probably wouldn't want to have that discussion in a forum like this. But if it's a gift, like if somebody just gifts you money or whatever, and it's not for services you perform, that is not a taxable event by the law. Now, if money's coming into a bank account and the IRS looks at that bank account, you might have some explaining to do, Lucy. But gift tax is kind of misunderstood. It's not a tax for getting a gift. It's taxes you might have to pay if you give large gifts. Yeah.
It's set up to sound like it's for the who's receiving it, but it's for the donor. Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, because when I was doing my taxes, I was like, gift tax. I honestly don't think I've seen or heard about that. What the hell is a gift tax? But now I know.
What it is basically they don't want somebody who's rich giving money to their kids or grandkids and it not paying taxes on it. So there's something called a generation skipping tax, and it's hugely, only like the Trumps and the Rockefellers of the world have to worry about it. But that's where the gift tax comes out, is just like transferring money without paying taxes on it.
Gotcha. So we're coming to the end. We got like 10 more
minutes.
Is there? Yeah, it's already been an hour.
This is how all my calls go. They go so fast because we're always talking.
Is there any other information that I didn't ask that you just want to blab out there and let everyone know about? Something that they may not even, because I've learned so much already, like so many things that I didn't know. So yeah, anything y'all have to add on?
Maybe we can talk about like the home office deduction and the phone bill expense. That's something that a lot of people don't think about. This is why you might want to see a tax professional for sorting those out. Like for OnlyFans models, for example, you can write off your bedroom as a home office because of where you're creating content and editing content and doing the most of your work. So you can actually write off a portion of your rent and utilities then for your home office. And then same thing for your phone bill. If you're using a portion of your phone bill for work, then that's deductible.
And my biggest tip, besides, everything we said here, is be careful. There are so many fraudulent tax preparers out there that always ask for what's called a PTIN. If it's an actual tax preparer with the IRS, they'll always have a preparer number called a PTIN. Like when I get a phone call and the first thing the person asks is like, "What's your PTIN?" I know this is going to be an on point call because they've already been Because what people will do is if they don't have a PTIN, they'll do your tax return, but they won't sign it. And then they'll claim all these outrageous expenses that you never even did. And you just signed the return because you were getting a big refund. And there's no way the IRS could track that person down because, that's why they do paper filing, stuff like that. Like always ask for a PTIN. References is kind of weird because like, I don't want to tell, especially in my business, like I had a veterinarian ask for references and I couldn't give references, but PTIN is a super like, if they have a PTIN, they're registered with the government and you can pretty much track them down because they've had to be fingerprinted and stuff like that.